Welcome to the Isolated Podcast. I'm John Lasher.
And I'm Douglas Miller.
We're live.
Wow, you have notes.
Well, I was writing while you were playing Age of Empires. In this episode, we're going to have an interview with Lagos-based street and documentary photographer Bernard Kalu. But before we jump into that, we want to go back to a story we started following an episode ago. So for those of you, this is your first episode joining us, my co-host, Douglas Miller, the owner of @DougShoots Instagram account, he posted an Instagram story. And none other than the star of the Batman Forever soundtrack, Seal, watched the Instagram story. We went on a quest, an isolated podcast quest, to try to get Seal on the podcast. Doug, how has our quest been going?
Well, honestly, John, not that well so far. We've tried to reach out to Seal, and I don't want to say that we've put forth, a very strong effort in this quest, but, we have tried to slide into the DMs. We've also commented on one of his posts. That was you. Thank you for that. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten any feedback or any return messages from Seal yet.
If anyone knows Seal, has seen Seal, or believes they can help put us in touch with Seal, please slide into our DMs.
Yeah, we would really love to seal the deal on this one.
Can you think of another pun?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have concealed my desire to put that pun out a little better.
For those of you who don't know, Doug and I are living together now. We are cohabitating in the same apartment. We've been cohabitating now for, it seems, 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think 6 weeks is close.
Doug is really good at washing dishes, and I continuously feel bad. It's like you leave a dish in the sink for like 30 seconds, and Doug's going to swoop in and wash it, which is very nice, but I want to pay him back somehow. Maybe I'll start ironing his shirts.
No, please don't. I take great joy from ironing as well.
Doug, if you could choose one photography project that you've undertaken over the last couple weeks and kind of describe it for us, what would it be?
So we opened up a new COVID treatment center in Hastings, just outside of Freetown. Had a grand opening ceremony, which I was lucky enough to attend and photograph. So I had a good time shooting that one, taking some photos of the staff and the soldiers and, the members of the high table. Got a nice portrait of our co-host, Jonathan Lash. John, I know you gave a speech yesterday as the PIH representative because we're, a part of the opening of the facility and the work that went behind it. And the press, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but got your name a bit wrong in the live television broadcast.
I gave a speech. That's right. I had a mask on. It wasn't fitting my face correctly. It had gone under my nose, which has been pointed out. It was broadcast on national television, and those of you who've been listening know my name is John Lasher, but the title when it was broadcast to the country was John Marshall.
Yeah, and also, aside from photographing the speeches and the ceremony, it was really nice to kind of be at the site at the completion and to be able to photograph, a lot of the soldiers that kind of helped through the infrastructure renovations that we were also helping to support. So it was just, a lot of fun to be a part of. And John, I know after that, the next day, I guess, we went to the main COVID-19 treatment facility in Sierra Leone. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what it was like taking photos in that facility?
Yeah, I think it's been really amazing to go into the main treatment center for coronavirus patients in Freetown and photograph the nurses and doctors as they're preparing. It's intense. It's pretty reminiscent of Ebola times. It's been great to get to know some of the nurses there. These are military clinicians, and get to take portraits for them. And besides just kind of documenting what they're doing, also take some group photos And we've also been able to print those photos out and bring them back. So that's been cool. We've been going to different printers across Freetown to try to find the best one.
There's definitely a bit of tension when you kind of come up to the facility. I think there's, most people or a lot of people are kind of on edge, but also the staff inside the facility seems very motivated and driven about the work, and everyone kind of has a really positive energy about them.
It's been amazing to document what's happening inside of the 34 military hospital as the nurses and doctors fight coronavirus there. And we'll be sharing some photos from the last couple weeks on our Instagram account. And now we're very lucky to be joined by Lagos-based street and documentary photographer Bernard Kalu.
Hello.
Hey, Bernard.
Hi. Hey, Doug. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Hey, Bernard, this is John.
How's it going?
Good. Thank you for...
Hi, John.
Hey, thanks for taking time so late in the evening in Lagos.
No worries. How you guys doing? How's Sierra Leone?
Yeah, we're doing well. We're excited to chat with you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how long have you both been in Sierra Leone?
So I've been in Sierra Leone since October of 2014, so just over 5.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That's
about
a long time.
2.5 years for me, just coming up on that.
Oh, where you originally from?
Both of us are from the U.S. I'm from New York originally.
And I'm from St. Louis.
Where? Sorry.
St. Louis, kind of right in the middle of the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Are you from Lagos originally?
No, I'm from Abia State, Eastern Nigeria. But I was born in Lagos, so I tend to claim Lagos a lot.
Nice.
I'm from the Igbo tribe of Nigeria.
Oh, yeah.
Like Eastern Nigeria, yeah.
So Bernard, what's it like being a street photographer in Lagos? It must be, I imagine, pretty challenging, but also quite rewarding.
Yeah. Lagos is a very energetic city. Like you have Lagos, first of all, we're kind of densely populated. I think about over 80 million people in Lagos. So population is a lot especially for the size of the city. So there are always people out there. Like the street is always buzzing. So it's a bit. It can be overwhelming if it's not something you're accustomed to already. Like if you're just starting to shoot on, like you're just starting to explore street photography, and Lagos is like your first playground or stuff. You'd be easily overwhelmed, and our people here are not. They're not so open to having their pictures taken. Like they tend to always go on the defensive when they see you with a camera. You have people thinking, oh, maybe he's from the government, or maybe he's trying to sell out pictures. Like people just have very funny ideas that come to them when they see people with cameras around. So, well, over time, I think I don't have such challenges anymore. Like it was initially it was really tough for me, but now things are a bit easier.
How did you overcome that? What were some of the tactics you used?
Okay, first off, I started with this shooting from the hip, like just carrying my camera and just putting it like on my on my hip, and just trying to steal images on the street, like just so that I'm not noticed, as in people don't see me or people don't notice I'm taking the pictures. But the downside to that is that I could still, like, let's say I shoot 500 pictures and I get home, I don't even have up to 10 good pictures because it's just I'm just spraying pictures and spraying the whole shot on the street. Like it was frustrating at the time, but I think it was when I started seeing other street photographers, their pictures. I saw how intentional their images were. I knew there was no way these guys were just spraying pictures. Like I just had to build that courage and had to be bold, because I wasn't committing any crime. I wasn't stealing. I wasn't committing a crime. So I just had to be bold and like. So I feel like how I dealt with that was to put my camera where people see, like hang my camera on me and make sure like it's in the sight of everybody, and just walk around the street and not try to take pictures at first. Just walk around and register my presence, somewhat register my presence around. Then whenever I decide to take pictures, I just realized people don't get as edgy as they used to be before when I started in the first place. Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you discover photography first? What were some of your inspirations?
Photography started for me after I finished the university. I studied computer engineering in part of Nigeria, Enugu State University, and then we had there's this very stereotype thing we have in Nigeria where your parents or your family just expect that, you finish school, you go get a job, like a white collar job, you start earning money, that very, very funny stereotype thing. And it's always, my son is an engineer, or is a doctor, or what's the other one? Engineer or lawyer.
Yeah, I think that transcends Nigeria to America also.
Yeah, so but at the time, like there was massive unemployment. I mean, like in the country, and I wasn't ready to like take a number and join the queue of those that were looking for jobs, or people that were just sitting around waiting for an opening somewhere. Like I was just curious as to what else I could do to make money and like build a life for myself than just sitting around and waiting for a job somewhere. So I think it was one time I was in Umahia, like I was in church then, because I'm very big on my spirituality, on God, and I'm a Christian, and also I was in church then, and my pastor was preaching that then. He talked about how a lot of the times we tend to mix make mistakes, especially with God's instruction to us. That many of us we think in a sort of way that makes it seem like God said, your life or your future is in a place, or is in a job, or is in someone's office. That God said that what God actually said is, He talked about the work of your hands, that He will prosper the work of your hands, and it made sense to me. I just went home and started thinking, what is it that, what can I invest, like what can I do with my hands and all. And amongst everything I thought about then, photography was the most feasible choice, because I can't sing to save myself. I write, but I don't write like so well. So I just thought, I think I can dabble around in photography. At the time, one of my aunties gifted me a camera. A point and shoot camera, that's what we call it here, like one Canon A something, like very small camera then. So I've been taking pictures, or like random pictures then. So I just felt, I can like this stuff looks nice. It's something. I know I've seen a couple of people online on social media that were already doing this stuff and making money from it. Maybe something like I should devote some time into an energy and see what comes out of it. So that was it.
And I see that you are kind of understand that you've kind of moved or evolved from simply or just street photography to also a documentary style of photography?
When I started, it was just, I mentioned how I started the whole idea of starting photography was to try and make a living for myself with photography. So I was the most prominent or the easiest kind of photography to do in Nigeria as at the time, or in Lagos here as at the time, to make money was wedding photography. So I did a lot of wedding photography, but I realized that weddings happen mostly on weekends. So I realized I had a lot of free time. Like, I mean, you just shoot on weekends, and most times when I started, I was mostly second shooting for people, so I didn't have to edit photos, so I had a lot of free time because the weekdays were free. So it was during those free times I started playing around with the concept of street photography. I didn't even know it. I didn't really think to myself I was doing street photography. It was just me trying to kill time, like to rid myself of boredom and the whole depression, and like it was more like therapy for me, like the idea of just hitting the streets then. So it was over time. I think I had to submit. There was a call. I think it was in 2016 or 2017. A call for entries to. I think it was a Nat Geo competition in Lagos here. And they were like, "Oh, Bernard, you have some great images. Like, why not just submit your pictures?" So I just thought it was random, just submit random pictures. But I didn't know it was like a proper portfolio review. So it had to be like a coherent body of work and all. So, but me, I just had how street photos can be very aesthetically beautiful photos, like very nice photos of Lagos. But they were just random single photos. So I just put them together and submitted. And I think I was second. The guy that won it had a very I think he did a story around accommodations in student accommodation in universities, like, because at the time they had very the standard of accommodations the students had in University of Lagos was very bad. So he did and he was a student at the time, so he did a document, a project around it, and it was really, really strong. Like, it was beautiful. So, and it was when I saw that, I'm like, oh wow. So this whole thing is like this. There's a different level to this whole thing. It's not just about there's the part where you can actually know how to take pictures, like do the whole aesthetics, like do the whole composition thing, get great street photographs, but you can actually take it further and shoot, tell stories with your work and lend your voice literally into stuff. And that was when I started considering I think that was when I started tilting towards being more intentional beyond just taking nice pictures into telling stories. And someone helped too. There's a man here. His name is Sierra Leone. He's one of the top documentary photographers in the country and in Africa as a whole. So he reached out to me then because he was one of the judges for the competition. He was like, "Yeah, you have great work, but you need to think about doing projects, like doing body of work and not just fancy street photographs." And yeah, that's it.
I wanted to ask if there's a single image you remember taking, like your first image that you felt, or the first photo you made that you really felt proud of. And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Oh yeah, okay. So I think I remember that picture. It's funny because I still talked about it. I still mentioned it to my fiance some days ago. So it's a picture I shot in, I think it was in 2015. I think 2015 or 2016. There's a photographer in Lagos. He does. His name is Bayo Omoboriowo. He's like the official photographer to the president now, like the president of the country, Buhari. So back then he used to do what do you call it? Like a reach out program to children. The concept was just photographers coming together. I think the idea was you come together provide what do you call it, materials for the children, like for their school. Buy books, buy pen, like just buy stuff for them, and it was a collaboration project. And then he reached out to photographers and was like, "Oh yeah, this stuff is happening again this year." I think the name, the team then was Photograph a Child. That's what they call it. So we came together at Makoko in Lagos. Makoko they call it the Lagos Venice. I mean Venice of Lagos, because it just looks like the pictures you see of Venice, or like the idea of floating houses, like people living, like the streets there are no floors, they're just what's it called, houses built on stilts on water. So it has that same vibe, and so we're there, and we're just walking around trying to take pictures around the community and all before the presentation happened, like because we had to present them with stuff we bought for them and all. And I saw this young lady. She was quite young, and she was trying to pet her child. Like I think the child was barely maybe 2 years old or a year old, like very little child, and the child was crying hard, and you could see this. You could like from where I was a bit far from where they were. I could see the what was the word for it? I could see the look on the lady's face. Like you could tell she was actually tired. Like she had that helpless look. Like she was literally drifting away in thought while her baby was trying to get attention, crying and all. So I took the picture, and I think to date that's still one of my very very favorite my favorite pictures, because of the whole situation around it, and it reminds me of the time in my life when I don't know, when a lot of things didn't make sense. Yeah, that's it.
And at what point, because it sounds like it was probably very challenging to leave computer engineering and start taking photographs and make a living doing that. At what point did you feel like things fell into place? Was it when you entered that National Geographic competition, or was there some other moment where you felt like things fell into place for you?
I think it was like after I made the decision to do photography full time. I think it was like, it's difficult to just say, oh, this is the one time I just felt things were good, or things were falling into place. I think it's a combination of a lot of other things, because I told you I started with weddings. So in the early stages, I was blessed to have like a couple of friends and colleagues that I shot with. Like I hung around with them. I got to shoot weddings with them. I was second shooter to them. So like it was a couple of things that all work together. So it's difficult to say, oh, this is the very point. But thinking about my journey as a documentary photographer, like my transitioning from just weddings and all to doing documentary, I think that Nat Geo competition was the very is the very instant I can point to and say, oh, this is what inspired the transition.
Yeah. And now that Lagos has so many coronavirus cases, I'm assuming going out and doing street photography or even documentary photography now, it's kind of a challenge. Like, do you go out and document what's going on, or do you stay at home? What's that process been like for you?
It's a bit of both. We're on lockdown for almost a month. I think was it 3rd March? Like the federal government announced like a full lockdown for 3 states: Lagos, Ogun State, and Abuja. So I'm in Lagos, and we had to stay home for 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, he announced like an extension of the lockdown. It was just on the 4th of May, I think. he announced like a gradual easing off of the lockdown. There's still like a curfew that starts at night, but the lockdown isn't in effect anymore like it was. So we had to stay back home for that for a month. So that period I was just home, but like nobody could go out and all. But after last week when the lockdown got like there was a gradual easing off of the lockdown, I've tried to step out once or twice, and it's things are a bit different because before now, you're just carefree. You're walking around saying hi to people, like, but now everybody's just there's this everybody just cautious. Like people are trying not to people are trying not to get infected maybe. So like you don't get that like I mean the vibe I would normally get on walking on the street isn't as it used to be, but things are shaping up, sure. But so I've been going out a couple of times since the ease of the lockdown. Yeah.
And what are are there any photography projects you're working on in isolation?
So there's a program that Seven Academy Seven Academy launched, I think, about 3 weeks ago. So, like, I attended a workshop with them last year. So, I became part of like their extended community like that. So, they said launched a program around I think something about documenting like photographing during this pandemic times and all. So the concept was you just take pictures and you submit pictures weekly, and there's a Zoom what's it called, Zoom conference like later in the week, and you analyze the pictures and just so that people are busy and like you're rubbing minds with people. So I've been part of it. I've been submitting images to it. So I think because of that demand, I think I've been it's made me try to be more to channel my energies into creating work during this period. But I don't have a specific project in mind that will say, oh, this is what I'm working on this period. Everything, most of the works, most of the pictures I get to shoot, or the images I've been making this period has been mostly my way of more like just trying to journal my feelings, like express myself in those images. So it's not been like a coordinated project yet. Like I don't have it like figured out yet. This is the project I'm doing. Most pictures I'm taking is just a way of easing myself and just just easing myself of the whole, because this whole period has been it's been tough for everybody. So it's just my way of coping with the period. Yeah.
And are there any photographs you've made during this very difficult period that kind of represent how you're feeling as you're coping?
Yeah, I think I shot. There was a self-portrait I took. I think it was 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, when the lockdown was still in effect. It was just a self-portrait in my sitting room. There's this light that come in towards the afternoon when the sun is like still still out, and so my door hole, like the peephole on the door, the light comes in from that little hole and hits my wall. But because of the thickness of the glass of the peephole, the light is a bit colored, like one very like yellow, not yellow, red blue-ish color. So I just went in front of the light, posed my eye, and just took a picture of it. So looking at the picture was my way of saying, like, no matter how like dark it gets, like one ray of light can still break the darkness. So it's just keeping hope alive, basically. Yeah.
So Bernard, I know you had mentioned previously that about the mentorship that you had received and how you're very passionate about tutoring and mentoring other young kind of visual storytellers. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about your journey in that process?
Okay, yeah. So, the story I said about when I wanted to start, when I wanted to start, or when I started photography, on how I decided and just said, oh, I was going to do this. So when I came back to Lagos, then social media can be very nasty, or can be a very funny place, because you tend to judge people from the hype of social media, and it's with time you realize that things are not usually how it seems online. But then I just thought, oh, these guys were doing great work, they're doing cool work. So I reached out to a lot of them, like a lot of the top photographers then, and I didn't get any feedback from many. None of them responded except one woman. She used to be in Lagos. She has moved to the UK now. Her name is Wani Olatunde. And she said, because the content of my message to them was, oh, hi, my name is Bernard Kalu. I'm an aspiring photographer, or how did I even word it? I think I said I'm also an aspiring photographer. And I was looking for an opportunity to intern, like to be an intern with them, like with if it was a he, with him, or with her, or he or she. And the messages went unanswered, but she replied and said, "Oh, hey Bernard, thanks for messaging. That at the moment I'm not taking interns. Like I don't have the capacity to handle internship at the moment. But I think you should just continue shooting. Like there are a lot of materials on YouTube on the internet. Like consume as much as you can consume and keep creating work. You'll be fine and all." And it was really such a priceless advice, because for the longest it's something I ran with, and I still run with. Like I focused on my work and kept shooting, and fast forward a year after, most of the photographers that reached out to me and wanted to meet, wanted to hang out. So it's just funny. So and so that kind of inspired me to try as much as possible to be there for the younger photographers. So I tend to always respond. I tend to respond to almost every DMs I get. Like no matter who sends, like no matter if it's something if it's something I can help, like if there's a way I can help out, sure, I'll oblige and all. But if something beyond my capacity at the time, I'll be like, oh hey, got your message. I can't do this at this time, but just be there, be good human, basically. So that's been like my motivation for helping the younger generation be their best self, or be a better version of themselves. Yeah, what I've learned is, like, the more available, or the more you tend to share, is the more you tend to the deeper you get, like the deeper the knowledge gets for you. That's what I've noticed over time. Like when I've had opportunities, because there's something I organize from time to time. I call it photo hangout. So it's like a hangout, basically, where I open it up to photographers, like usually the young photographers, any of them that they're available to attend. So we just come together, we meet in a location, we discuss, we talk about stuff, and like just share ideas and rub minds. And I realize that most times, like usually the idea of the hangout is so that I get to share with them and we rub minds. But most times I realize I leave more inspired than I even got there, and it's just funny, because you would think it's the other way around. So, in the words of Gasmado, sharing is learning.
Who are the photographers that have inspired you on your journey?
There are a lot of them. Well, Andrew Sierra is like one of those photographers. I said the story on how he helped. He helped me. He helped put my mind in in like the right place as regards documentary photography, like the transitioning from just doing street photography to doing documentary photography. Even though street photography is a form of documentary photography, but being more intentional with the stories I want to tell and how I want to tell them. And there's Andrew Sebo, then there's Tom Sata. Tom Sata is also a documentary photographer in Nigeria, an amazing, a very big human being. Like he's been so inspiring. There are a couple of them. There's Alabi, Isama. Then there's Sotu. Sotu, his full name is Shogun Olotu. He's been very inspiring as well. And like so many to mention. Like if I start mentioning names, it will be too hot if I don't mention some other names. So I don't want to enter that. I don't want to have to explain myself, especially when this podcast gets out and they're like, "Oh, so you didn't call my name?" I'm like, "Oh, so you guys shouldn't put me on the spot like that." so there are many of them.
Are there projects that you're looking forward to getting back into, or anything in the works that you want to share with people?
Oh yeah. There's a story I was working on in Port Harcourt. A story around they call it the street challenge there. So it's soot is like a pollutant that comes from this illegal processing of crude and oils, and like it's like particles in the air, like black substance, and it's something that has been affecting the people for over 2 years, and it's a story I've been following up. So something that I think I'll get back to, because even though there's a pandemic, like coronavirus is a thing, like people are dying. Climate, environmental issues that are also real. My fiance would say the coronavirus is like a 100-meter dash, but environmental climate crisis is a marathon. So we have to run both simultaneously. So it's something I still have to get back to. There's that, and there's a couple of ideas as well I'm looking to explore after things get back to the normal it was before. Yeah.
Well, Bernard, thank you so much for your time. Can you tell listeners where they can find your work?
Oh yes. My website is www.bernardkalu.com. Bernard BERNARDKALU.com, and I'm on Instagram at Kabeni _ Kabeni is KABENNY _ on Twitter. Yeah.
Awesome.
You can find me there. I'll find my work there, as it were.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you, Jon. It's been a good one. Like I've had to rack my head and remember some things I thought I'd forgotten.
Yeah. Good. Well, we hope it wasn't too difficult, but it was.
No, it was a good one. It was a good experience. Thank you so much.
I have to say, we're very lucky that you were our second guest. It's just amazing to hear from a photographer also in West Africa.
All right, see you, Bernard.
Thank you.
All right,
Good
bye.
night. Thank you.
All right, good night.
Bye.
And that wraps up the third episode of the Isolated podcast. Doug, how did we do?
You know, John, honestly, I think I really loved this one. Bernard was such a pleasure to talk to. And yeah, it was just really great hearing from someone else in West Africa and hearing all about Bernard's journey through photography.
Seal, if you're listening, we want you on the podcast. Join us.
Come at me, bro.
But let's not threaten him.
Come join me, bro.
Join us on the Isolated podcast. We'll be back at some point in the next 1 to 2 weeks with our next episode, where we're interviewing another amazing photographer yet to be named.
I love Age of Empires.